After throwing the first of 2 Molotov cocktails, Cody Ballmer tried to break further into the governor's residence. Armed with a sledgehammer, authorities said he intended to strike Governor Josh Shapiro with, had the two crossed paths.
I'd be lying if I said I don't think about it. When I open the double doors that lead to, our more private area, those are double doors he was trying to kick down and get through.
Ballmer mentioned Shapiro's perceived stance on Israel's war in Gaza in a 911 call shortly after the attack.
He's not going to travel, thousands of miles. He did it close by to someone he blamed.
How worried are you about increasing political violence to the point that we're seeing?
Yes, I would say that the overall picture is one where things seem to be escalating.
Colonel Christopher Paris with Pennsylvania State Police tells News 8 the attack at the governor's residence and attempt on Shapiro's life is among the latest episodes of political violence in Pennsylvania, occurring less than a year after the assassination attempt on President Donald Trump in Butler.
We've been through the incident in Butler on July 13th, and we're trying on a daily basis amongst rising political violence to try and be as proactive as we can at mitigating those threats and then operating in the environment.
What happened at the governor's residence is also prompting looks at security elsewhere, like the State House.
We've held conversations with members of the General Assembly and thinking through how we can better protect and raise our security level because of the environment that we're in today.
Burwood Yost with Franklin and Marshall College's Center for Opinion Research says political violence, like the attack at the governor's residence, as well as the assassinations of Minnesota's Speaker of the House and political activist Charlie Kirk, is rejected by the large majority of the American population. But he worries about that violence becoming normalized.
There is rhetoric among certain subgroups where this kind of conversation goes on, but we should not accept nor normalize this kind of behavior.
In light of the political violence he experienced himself, Shapiro says leaders have to shift the tone around disagreements.
That we find more common ground, even if we might have a disagreement on a policy, and that we universally condemn political violence and not allow a certain group or type of person or person with a certain ideology to think their hateful rhetoric or their violence is okay. None of that type of hate, none of that type of violence is okay, and it's got to be universally condemned.
In Harrisburg, Tom Lehman, News 8.